Matt and I have like gotten each other both like into this stuff. Um, Watching these like inspirational finance, like get your life together guys who are just all so fucking stupid. And Matt and I have been times like, the problem is like we keep on watching all these things and then we don't do anything with it. So we're just like melting our brain for no reason. But worry not, we found one and we have this one for y'all. And I just think this one really hits at what that content is really about at the end of the day, and is a lot of fun to watch. So we have this one. This is from a fella by the name of Patrick Bet David, who, surprise, surprise, sells bullshit books about how to make $1 million. But let's just watch this for a second.
Now, how much we blame the rich for getting richer, we forget that if you put money through the system, it's always going to flow to the same exact people. By the way, food for thought. If I were to right now, we went through the system right now with the government, and we give $1 million to everybody in America today. And let's just say AOC's dream becomes a reality. Let's give everybody $1 million, hypothetically. Bernie Sanders, let's give everybody $1 million. What the hell do you think is going to happen with that $1 million? Here's what's going to happen with $1 million. Million goes in, $0 million flows to billionaires.
Why don't they do that then?
And the job creators every time. The problem isn't
That's a good point.
who the government's giving money to or who the government's bailing out or not. The problem is all these political leaders.
Wait, there's more to come, but Matt made a good point. It's like, one, why don't they do that? Because one, if that was the case, they would 100% be doing that right now. And two, I don't remember the $1 million for all being a big campaign promise of the Bernie Sanders. I remember that being if anything was like Andrew Yang's thing, which was $1,000. Anyway,
Everyone a millionaire. Yeah, no, I mean, that's a good point. And that brings us back to our joke about Andrew Yang, which is that like, to a certain extent, what he's saying is true, but it's not true for the reason he says it is, which is that like the wealthy are just so much better than the not wealthy. It's that people who own shit and just can like charge people just for using it, like rentiers.
Yep.
Like, of course, like a society is set up to allow them to just funnel up the money, regardless, frankly, of how. Well, we'll say what his I don't want to.
Yeah, because it gets really good in a second, and yeah, we'll talk about all the things that are hilarious. But it's about to take a turn that's amazing.
They care about the people so much. When is the last time they got up on the pedestal and said, go read these next 20 books and change your mindset? Because this is what this guy had to do at 21 years old when he thought the shortcut was to go put $5,000 on.
Okay, well.
And what he's going to say next is blackjack.
You were a dumb guy.
Where to start with that? I mean, one, amazing to imagine like Joe Biden getting up from the Rose Garden, being like, "Here are the 20 books. Hey, listen. Here are the 20 books you need." I need to work my mind.
Man,
yeah,
you got to read How to Lose Friends and Alienate People. Or no,
how to Lose Friends and Alienate People.
That's the Simon Pegg movie. How to Win Friends and I don't know.
And influence people, I think.
Influence people, yeah.
No, I mean, and surprise, surprise, this guy has multiple books that he is selling out there to folks trying to promote that kind of fucking nonsense. But no, I mean, I think that point that he makes at the beginning, one, laughable, stupid, silly. I mean, it just shows like the level of intellectualism that most of these kind of fucking TikTok influencers live at. Operate from, where they're saying like, "Oh, AOC is trying to give $1 million to everybody," which has never been a part of anyone's policy proposal. But he makes an interesting point there that I do want to like dissect as a Marxist, if that's okay, Matt. Mm-hmm. The point he makes about, well, the money would flow one way, right? And like, that's the fucking critique of Marxism and socialism.
Right.
Is that it's not about how smart you are. It's that this system is designed to funnel money from working people, from everyday people, from normal people into the pockets of the rich. Now, of course, if they gave the 330 million people in this country $1 million, one, inflation, blah, blah, blah. But two, like, let's just like drop that for a second. Every landlord raised the rent. Every good that you get increases in price. And yeah, the money would flow, which is why Marxists and socialists don't propose this kind of just general transfer like this. They say, no, we need to break the system that flows money from the working people, the people who create value, who keep the lights on for that motherfucker and feed them every day, right? They need to end the system that flows all of their wealth into the pockets of those billionaires. That's the criticism that the best side of Bernie Sanders, the best side of AOC makes about this system. It's not that poor people are poor on in the sense of like some, dollars and cents in their bank account. Is that we have a system of exploitation that takes the value that they create and puts it in the pockets of billionaires. And then we have a system of exploitation that takes all the wealth that we have into the pockets of billionaires through rents. And that's not just the rent that you pay. It's through your credit card loan, your car loan, all these things that you need to live in society. That's the criticism. That's the socialist criticism of the system. And I don't know. I mean, at a certain point, you can over intellectualize like a huckster like that. But it is very fucking funny to see somebody just say things so clearly that he's like, yeah, the system's rigged. He literally says it. He's like, the system's rigged. Even if you had the money, we'd be getting it all. And that's the criticism that socialism makes of the current fucking situation in this country.
And I'm somebody who I've read 20 books in a year. I've read when I was 25.
You read 20 books?
When I was 25 and barely employed, I read 150 books that year. And probably a lot of books that he would consider like it wasn't all just like Verso.
Did you read Marcus Aurelius? That's their new thing. They love Marcus Aurelius, which is so funny to me as a philosophy student. Anyway,
but what's funny is like first of all, when I was 21, did not have $5,000 to go consider putting on fucking blackjack to try to like, I don't know, what a leech. That's a leech mindset. I want lots of money for doing jack shit for getting absolutely fucking lucky. And let me tell you something about the books he's reading. You don't need to read a fucking book. The books, the message that he got was, hey, how about instead of putting all that money on fucking blackjack, you become a rentier with it. Do that. Magic. You don't need to read 20 books to know that. You just need to have money.
No, what all these guys end up suggesting that you do is you buy a home and you exploit people and you charge them too much in rent. Yep. Not to take away from my point, I was a very good poker player for years, Matt. I don't know if you know this, but when I was working construction, I took all my earnings and I played poker, and actually sustained me for my first 2 years of college. But
playing Hold'em?
Hold'em. I'm a good Hold'em player, but that's not the point of the segment. The point is that this guy's a fucking idiot. But like, no, I mean, I just find this stuff really interesting on a sociological level, because this is like ideology at work, right? You're watching this when you're shitting or you're waiting for something, you know what I mean? And the TikTok stuff is weird, and I'm reluctantly like just checking it out just to see what everybody's getting into. And it's fascinating to see how strong like the American like ideological state apparatus is, that within this like new technology, it's like that's what you're meant for. I mean, again, it's all algorithms. Maybe I'm just the guy that they're targeting for this kind of stuff, but it's constant, this kind of nonsense. It's like, this is where I invest my money. This is why I'm rich, and this is why you're fucking poor, you know, asshole. And there's no structural, there's no structural critique there. And the points they make are really vapid. But again, this is like why sometimes sometimes people get, when I meet people in the movement, maybe I see sometimes they get like, oh, well, you do YouTube, oh, that's like not real. That's like, that's a lesser form of making these kind of arguments. It's like, no, this shit's important because the stuff that's out there is so toxic and nasty that it's important to sort of put it out that like, this fucking guy, Patrick Bet David, is a fucking moron. And what he's lying to people. His solutions to the problems of poverty in this country is to read a fucking book. The most egregious and bullshit thing. I wouldn't even say that to somebody in like the kind of read theory sense. You know what I mean? Like, like you got problems, read the comments. I would never say that to somebody. But these motherfuckers, that's what they do. I don't know, just extremely nasty. But it is very telling that, like, even then, even at the height of this like hyper ideology, they still admit, yeah, the game is rigged. That even if you got money, we'd take it all.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. And the way to like is to read books. Is to read books to become one of us that can just figure out how to take money.
And this isn't the worst sin of those people, Matt, but as somebody, you know, Matt, you have a literary podcast, got a couple degrees in English.
I do.
Like the worst fucking books. Like just like the worst. Like these guys aren't trying to get you to read Moby Dick or anything like that. They're trying to get you to read like just horrible, pay some guy on Fiverr to write it, fucking nonsense slop.
Or like the inside story of how Tesla became the greatest company on Earth, written by like the most credulous reporter on that same Earth.
And also with those people too, I will just say there's something that's always so telling about those boys, that like they apparently have so much money and so much wealth and so much power, and yet they have to spend all their fucking time hawking their nonsense to people on social media. You know what I mean? Like exactly. If you really got it, like Musk is deplorable, right? But Musk is not like buy my fucking like 10 ways to make $1 million book, right?
Yeah, that is. I mean, Musk does waste a lot of his time, though, in a way that you'd think he would be above. But
I agree. But he doesn't do that. That's what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Like, you know, like these guys are like, oh, from the goodness of my. I was like, no, this is like they don't make money except from selling this kind of bullshit to people.